In John 9, we get a story where the disciples encounter a blind man with Jesus, and they ask Jesus, "Hey man, where did his blindness originate from? Was it because of his sin or his parents' sin?" Well, you're not going to believe who Jesus points the finger at for the guy's blindness. Let's talk about that right now. There's a sense of control when we can understand where our suffering originates from, that maybe we can dodge the suffering the next time it comes around if we understand the roots of that suffering, what we did to cause that suffering to happen. And oftentimes, the reality is oftentimes we point to ourselves as if we made a mistake, and that is why we're suffering. Jesus does something very similar to what happened to Job. And Jesus says that, this guy's blindness is not a result of his sin or his parents' sin. The disciples didn't have another compartment in their mind, not at this time. Jesus says his blindness is so that my works, that God's works, can be displayed through him. In other words, Jesus says, don't point the finger at anyone else except me and my Father. Right? Similar to Job's words, right? Now we clearly know Satan was behind Job's suffering, that he got permission from God to inflict Job with some severe suffering, but God never blames Satan. He says the buck stops with me. At the end of Job, we just see God questioning Job. The Tower of Siloam that fell on a bunch of people, God made it clear, Jesus made it clear, that it didn't fall on those people because they sinned. It didn't fall on because they were any worse of sinners than anyone else. This tells me this. When I'm going through a season of suffering, I want to go to the one who's willing to take the blame. The one who I know is in control of it all. And when I know that the buck stops with God, then I can go to him and I can talk to him, who may very well display a mighty work in and through me in my season of suffering. If you're going through that season right now, I'm sorry to hear it. But God says the buck stops with him. Go to him. He is the one in total control. Talk to him about your suffering. Ask him to display himself through you. If you want to learn more, I invite you out to Midtown Church this Sunday at 10:30.